And that is Benjamin Netanyahu's stated aim, to completely dismantle Hamas. That is a clear military strategic goal. But what no one is talking about what you just mentioned there, is that how can that actually be done? No one in Netanyahu's cabinet, or indeed himself, has explained what Gaza looks like with Hamas destroyed and who takes over.
Look, I know that when you look at Gaza, you have a very strong impression of the destruction of the buildings, and it's not a very pleasant sight. There is a problem here which can't be resolved lightly. Hamas is headquartered in the center of the urban centers of Gaza, of Khan Yunis, of all the urban centers of Gaza, precisely in order to make it extremely difficult to fight against them, because when you fight against them, there is a collateral damage which is devastating to the eyes of the ordinary person everywhere in Australia.
Is it devastating to you, Ehud? Is it also devastating to you?
It's there, I keep saying all the time, I don't want to argue about the numbers of casualties on the other side, because I don't know the real numbers, and I think that it's blown out of any reasonable proportion. But for me, one person killed who is not involved is too many. I absolutely can't acquiesce with the idea that so many non-involved people are killed. And yet, at the same time, this is what happened in our side as well, when 1,500 citizens were butchered and beheaded and slaughtered in the most atrocious manner by the Hamas people. So this is a very difficult and a very painful situation, and there is not a simple answer, and something that I can say that will satisfy the conscience of myself and of many other people across the world. And yet at the same time, I have to think about the possible ramifications if Hamas will continue to exist as a military power and will continue to try and upset the balance in the Middle East, and will continue to attack innocent Israelis, and will continue to launch missiles that force hundreds of thousands of people to sit in their safe rooms or in the shelters day in and day out for years and years and years. So there is not a simple answer to that, and I understand the sensitivity of many people, although I'm appalled by some voices that were made in Sydney that called for Jews to go back into the gas rooms. Terrible, terrible. So this is a complex situation. What would Australia do had 1,500 civilians in Sydney or in Adelaide or in any other of your cities would have been slaughtered by terrorists in their homes, in their residence? What would you do? Would you not react? Would you not reach out for the killers and do everything you can in order to eradicate them, to break their military power? This is a problem which doesn't have a simple answer. What I can say is that, and I'm not a supporter of this government in Israel, as you may know. I'm in opposition to Netanyahu and this gang of thugs. But it is the overwhelming majority of Israelis share this view that Israel must break down the military power of Hamas, and will try to do it at the minimum cost to non-involved people. And that's what we try to do. Therefore, we force them to move out of Gaza in order not to be in the center of the military action. And now we'll have to probably move them into another part so that they will not be in the military action in the south part of Gaza. And we hope that there will not be many non-involved people affected.
Well, let's talk about Benjamin Netanyahu then. It is clear that you are one of his loudest critics. There is concern and has been concern since the start of this war that Benjamin Netanyahu would overreact. I'm not sure what we're seeing is an overreaction, but let's just pretend for a moment that Benjamin Netanyahu can achieve this stated objective of wiping out Hamas. What happens next, Ehud? Can Benjamin Netanyahu be part of any solution, a two-state solution on the other side? And when it comes down to it, no one is talking about perhaps the intelligence failure that allowed this to happen. The military takes accountability in your country, but what about elected officials?
Okay, let's draw a certain distinction between the different parts of this long question. Number one, I don't want to speak for Netanyahu or for his government, okay? That is clear. I can speak for what I think Israel as a country, as a state, has to do. What we have to make clear and to spell it out in the most explicit manner is that once the military action is completed, we pull out entirely from Gaza. That's number one. We have to make clear that we are not looking for any occupation of any part of Gaza. I was one of the main pushers at the time, 18 years ago, to pull out from Gaza when I was the vice prime minister of Israel at the time of Sharon. And I advocated it, and I don't want to come back to Gaza. Okay, so once we complete the military action, we have number one, to pull out. Number two, the state of Israel has to provide a political horizon that may help buy some time with the international community to justify a continuation of the military action if there is a clear understanding that afterwards there will be a political process. And what the government of Israel has to do, the state of Israel has to do, is to declare that at the end of the military action, Israel is prepared to embark immediately on negotiations for a two-state solution. Now, you can ask me, will the government of Netanyahu do it? No, there is not a chance that Netanyahu will do it. Therefore, it is another reason why he has to be thrown out today.